Hey friends, welcome back to the SKOLcast. My name is Asher Whitmer, and I'm here with my brother Christopher Whitmer. We are two Vikings fans who enjoy talking about football, and we just want to see the Vikings win at least one Super Bowl, but we're also concerned about multiple Super Bowls before we die. And so what'd you say?
We're not going to settle.
We're not going to settle. And sometimes it feels like within Vikings fan base, we're all driven for one Super Bowl. And so you see the rest of the team stacked and ready, primed to go, at least we thought, before hit with a bunch of injuries. And then you have McCarthy do what he did against Atlanta, and then Carson Wentz do what he did against the Bengals, and a whole bunch of the fan base was like, let's ride Wentz to the Super Bowl. And we have been crying this whole time. No, Wentz is a backup. Fantastic job. We think McCarthy could have done a pretty cool job against that version of the Bengals as well. And it all comes full circle now where after the Eagles game where they lose 28-22 and everyone's like all up in arms now, get McCarthy off the team. Blaming KOC for his play calling. Now, in a bit, Christopher, I'm going to let you kind of run through what you saw of the game, but my wife and I were on an anniversary getaway in a beautiful city in the Pacific Northwest, and so I actually spent very little time this weekend watching football. I watched the first two Eagles offensive drives and the first Vikings offensive drive since the Eagles started with the ball. That was about how it panned out. And two things stood out to me. One, that touchdown to A.J. Brown. Like, what in the world was Metellus doing covering A.J. Brown? And why was there hardly any pressure on Hurts? Like, Hurts stood there all day, and I know they dropped 8, but still, and Dallas Turner was there. It looked like he was hardly doing anything. Now, he was up against Lane Johnson, who's a really good tackle or guard. What does he play on their offensive line? But it just, to me, that was a little disconcerting to see how soft the defense was, and just a matchup like. Is it not a first guess that Rodgers should have been on Brown? And then I saw the first Vikings drive where two passes stood out to me in particular. One actually looked good. It was like a 15-yard pass to Adam Thielen, and they got a first down, and it looked really nice. Although on the replay, you see that Justin Jefferson is wide open over the top, and nobody's guarding him. If he would have, Wentz could have dropped it into him, and Jefferson would have been off for a touchdown. Maybe there was a safety on the other side of the field that wasn't in frame or something, but that was kind of puzzling to me. And then soon after that, they did kind of the screen pass out to Addison, where he could have walked in for a touchdown probably, but it was a horrible pitch and hit the ground. Like, it wasn't even, maybe it didn't hit the ground. It was out of his reach. And to me, immediately I groaned inside. I was like, this is not going to be a good day, because the Vikings offense is best when they're creating pressure. Defense. And then if Wentz if he's missing some of these reads and not making easy passes, it's going to be a long, grueling day. And come to find out, it sounds like it was. But, Christopher, that's about all I saw of the game. So I'll turn it to you. What was your impression? I know you were – I, too, share your optimism about the team as a whole. But maybe first let's debrief the game a little bit.
Yeah. I missed most of the first half because I was working that morning, and so then I was like kind of checking in on it, and then finished it at home. So I missed like that first drive and whatnot. There was already a pick-6. There was already an interception, And then when the pressure was on, it seemed like Wentz was playing faster and playing, and like we were moving the ball, driving down the field. And I think that was kind of one of the things that stuck out to me, is that we were getting into the red zone. Like we didn't punt very often, and I may be forgetting. And I need to look up the game recap, but we didn't punt very often. It's just that we would get into the red zone and make some blunders, but people were open, and like Addison, Ham was open on that weird, I don't know if you saw that weird shovel pass grounding that Wentz did, where it was like,
I heard people talking about it, but
it was a touchdown right there, and I was like, yeah, okay, like we could literally come back to in this thing. We could beat these Eagles, and then he just like makes this like boneheaded shovel pass to nobody, and CJ Ham is wide open, just like a couple strides away from the end zone, and it just felt like the thing. I live in Philly, and I was texting my boss, and so obviously he's an Eagles fan. He says he's a Vikings fan, second, just on my behalf,
just to keep good work rapport.
and yeah, I was just telling him, like, I mean, God bless him. I think he's a fine dude. I love it that it's kind of a home team story. But I just texted, I was like, well, this is kind of dumb sometimes. like it just felt like that. The two things that felt like, it was like, we get in the red zone, Wentz is going to do something dumb. And then on defense, like when we did get good pressure on Hurts, he would just sit back, hurl the ball downfield, and every single time I knew it was going to land, which was odd. Not odd in the sense that like Jalen Hurts is an underrated quarterback. It was odd in the sense that I'm not used to that working quite like that from a Vikings defensive perspective. I'm trying to remember. This is something I probably should have known. Van Ginkel is still out, I think.
I thought he was going to be back in. Yeah. Was he not in that game at all?
I would need to look that up.
Because I was seeing reports the end of the last week that he was at practice.
If he wasn't, he didn't do anything, because like I never once noticed him, in all of the recap that I've listened to on podcasts and stuff, I haven't heard anyone talking about him. But regardless, we miss. I mean, it was nice to have everybody back. He was out.
He did not play. He was out.
I think we miss some of those things. Because like there was just a few moments where it's like, man, just like a Van Ginkel interception right here would light up. Jonathan Grenard had several QB pressures that, like, he had his hands on him. I think someone mentioned this after the game, that like Hurts seems hard to tackle. Like, you can get to him, and this makes sense. I mean, he benches an incredible amount. He's the tush push guy. And so there were a few times where like Grenard had his hands on Hurts, should have come down with him, and hers is just an oak tree back there. And
which is maybe where, because you had the Giants got to him several times, I think, in their last game. But they have a much bigger defensive line, and the Vikings, for the Flores scheme, I think, is a little smaller and faster than as far as big and buff.
Yeah. So it was like Wentz making dumb plays. He made some really incredible plays. Honestly, like, I think, like we would, if I mean, you can say this every single time. There were some clear blown calls, I thought, in favor of the Eagles. There probably was some the other way too. And obviously you always want a pick-6 back, but without that pick-6, like, erase that pick-6. Let's say they don't get those points, we don't get those points, we win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it just felt like the theme of the day was soft pressure in the passing game, like those three or four big explosive plays, that one to ice the game at the end, and then a couple to get them in position to score touchdowns, or two I think, that actually huge passes to AJ Brown and one to DeVonta Smith to get touchdowns, and then the pick-6 from Wentz and a couple of his stupid plays. Like the feeling I came away from the game was that it was entirely the Vikings to win or lose.
Mm-hmm.
And there were just a couple of blown coverages and dumb plays that lost us the game.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've watched a few little reviews or whatever, like the reviewing the calls, the blown calls. It's also interesting, like, for one of the first times the Eagles false start on the tush push was called, and so I happened to see one of those when I hopped on for just a few minutes sometime. I'm not sure what I was doing, but the Vikings punted only once in that game, according to MinnesotaVikings.com, and they gained nearly 400 yards of offense and had season low in penalties. They had three penalties the whole game, and yet so I like that. That's where I'm like, what does JJ McCarthy do in a game like that?
Yeah,
where you have Wentz who goes blue screen of death. Like, for the record, I think Wentz has done a great job as a backup QB.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, I do not want to ride him. I don't want to ride. He's not the hot hand. He never was the hot hand. He played a very soft Bengals team and looked really good. That game was also largely buffed. The points were buffed because of the defensive show that Isaiah Rodgers put on. But Wentz has done great. Like, for most QBs, outside of Mac Jones, who has $100,000 on every win that he can produce this year as a backup QB, like, if you're talking to most NFL teams, hey, you're going to be without your starter for 4 to 6 games, and your backup's going to play 500 ball. That's a win. Like, that's really good, especially considering the fact that he came in very last minute. Now, hearing how Sunday's game went puts me back in the position of, like, I personally would have been fine with Max Brosmer being the backup QB. And it's like, what would that have been like if Max Brosmer had 2 or 3 starts? I don't know. Maybe that's risky. He's a rookie too. I know, whatever. But he played very well in the spring training. All that to say, the way, like, my sense has been, based on what I'm hearing from people who watch the game, that was Wentz's blue screen of death moments. Were the Eagles getting just a ton of pressure on him as a QB, or was it you made it sound like it was more as the game, like, as crunch time came, then he started executing? And I guess part of me wonders obviously we want McCarthy healthy before he goes back out there. So if he's tender and ginger and doesn't quite trust his feet and all that,
right,
we don't want him out there. But what would it have looked like if McCarthy was the one out there playing, and you have some of these not blue screen of death moments happening?
Yeah. I was just looking at the some of the defensive stats, It was there was kind of this thing. I don't remember a ton of just like constant pressure. I think Wentz had time, and KOC was scheming people open. Like I said, the one thing I know is that there were a couple times he got hit hard. Like I think it was the interception return for a touchdown, which happened in the first quarter. I was still at the coffee shop and someone was watching the game.
It happened in the first quarter.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, interesting.
And he's like, he got murdered. Was the expression. Oh, hold on. It might not have been the first.
Hey, just to jump in here real quick. Like this is ridiculous. The Vikings had 21 first downs compared to the Eagles 13. Their third down efficiency was 7 of 15 as opposed to 3 of 10 for the Eagles. Fourth down efficiency was 1 of 1. The Eagles were 2 of 3. The one, I believe, was the tush push that got called on a false start. The Vikings had 67 total plays as opposed to the Eagles 49, almost 20 more total plays than the Eagles. The Vikings allowed only 2 sacks. The Eagles allowed 3. The Vikings punted once. The Eagles punted 3 times. The Vikings had 3 penalties for 30 yards. The Eagles had 8 penalties for 64 yards. Nobody lost a fumble. The Vikings threw 2 interceptions. The Vikings had 34 minutes of possession versus 26 of the Eagles. Like, that is a win.
Yeah.
By all metrics, except for the fact that, you know, the Eagles didn't throw any interceptions. But
the way the game went, that interception was probably a 9-point swing. Just based on the fact that on each of our possessions, we only didn't make it to the red zone twice. Well, aside from that play. So other than the pick-6, there was an interception and then one punt. The interception was like the first right out of the second quarter. The interception in return for a touchdown. What was I saying about that? I forget. I forget the point I was making.
Otherwise, we were getting to the red zone. It's a 22-19 game, or a 25-21.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, and you know, there's the butterfly effect of like if you change one thing, you know, maybe that affects game strategy or whatever. So you never really know, but say the game pretty much continues on as it was, and you take out that interception, pick-6. But yeah, I think we made the point I was making. I kind of totally just escaped my mind now what I was trying to get at when I started looking up when that was. And yeah, I think that was essentially my point. Like the Vikings played well, and I like the expression of Luke Brown on Locked On Vikings. Like, he was talking about how like the defense played well. The defense stopped the Eagles pretty effectively, except for a few crucial blown coverages that 2 of them went for a touchdown. And Luke Brown was like, yeah, other than that, how else did the play go, Mrs. Lincoln? You know, like other than the murder of your husband, other than these 2 crucial blown coverages, like the game was fine. So there, I mean, there is this thing of like that's the game of football is that you take advantage of those moments, and whoever does that better wins. But I come away like, oh yeah, okay, it's all coming back to me, because I was talking about, you had asked about pressure on Wentz, and he got hit really hard on that pick-6 early on in the game, and so I think And there's also, I mean, we haven't even talked about Blake Brandle, the essentially third string center, first time center, who was playing. I think his weakness was crucial. Just a couple of times, Wentz only got sacked twice, but just a couple of times where his lack of experience at center. One time he had a terrible snap, sent it to the roof essentially, and then just got bowled over.
I saw that.
So I think early on in the game that messed with Wentz a little bit, and if again the what ifs, but if we had Ryan Kelly in there, even our old center from last year, Bradbury, I think we win that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I just, based off of the little that I've seen and off these stats and so forth, and this is my optimism about McCarthy. I don't think the Eagles. So on one sense, it's okay, I don't think the Eagles are the Eagles of a year ago. They're currently not playing in such a way to win a Super Bowl. So the fact that we lost to them is an indictment on the Vikings more than anything. But I guess I would say this game is evidence to me of see, this is why we don't try to ride with Wentz. Let's get McCarthy back in there as soon as possible. And so maybe kind of shifting now to, as we look at Thursday's game. Now I do believe KOC has come out and said Wentz will be starting on Thursday night, which is probably wisest. I'm not sure that you're setting anybody up for success to bring him in on the short week of practice and so forth with the team. But what are your, and maybe there's not, we've kind of talked about this quite a bit already, and we're kind of in a wait and see mode. I'm not sure exactly how McCarthy's ankle is doing. Do you see them bringing him in against the Lions? Is that wise, or do you wait until, what is it, the Ravens after the Lions?
Ravens, Lions, Ravens, Bears. So KOC said, they didn't, I think they split their practice basically into 2 days. They haven't really had a full day of practice. Short week. KOC has made a big deal about how he missed a practice the week going into the Falcons game, which was his terrible game. So it seems to me, if you look at everything, it seems like number one, the Vikings training staff is always super cautious. They were with this with at least in recent years. They were like this with Jefferson a couple of years ago. They held him out 8 weeks on a hamstring. Everybody, they're always slower than other teams to, unlike Brian Dable, who's rushing into the blue tent to get his concussed quarterback back out on the field. So I absolutely think it's the best decision, partly because I trust the Vikings and I trust KOC to do what's best for him, because the concern would be that if you're favoring an ankle, you're going to develop bad habits, which he's talked about before. Other people have talked about how debilitating creating those bad habits, bad footwork as a young QB can have this long-lasting repercussions into your career. And so I mean KOC has always talked in terms of the development of quarterbacks and the quarterback journey. And so it absolutely makes sense to me that he's thinking long term with JJ McCarthy. But he indicated if this was a Sunday game that McCarthy would most he didn't come out and say it, but he said about as clearly as a coach ever will that if this was a Sunday game, he'd probably start. And it makes sense with how much he saw McCarthy struggle with like very little practice against the Falcons. It makes sense that he would then be like, I'm not gonna throw him on a recovering ankle with very little practice against the Chargers. So to me that's all like there's no like conspiracy, there's no like it all fits in line with what we have seen from KOC and this coaching staff of like, we're going to develop this guy, we're going to do what's best for his development, and weighing that what's best for the team, but ultimately what's best for the team is a healthy and competent McCarthy. And he said like those mechanics that like he's really encouraged by how those mechanics are coming along that they were working on in the bye week. And people have just taken that and run with it as if like there's been some great big setback. To me, it's just like here's a coach who is unusually transparent about what they do, both with injuries and with the development of his players. And like he didn't have to tell us what he did in the bye week with JJ McCarthy, but he did. And then everyone ran with that and was like, oh, why is he being set back? It's like, because they weren't preparing for a game. like of course he's gonna develop his quarterback. And I actually think that that's a good sign that you're noticing problems, you're addressing them, and now he says he sees improvement.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, for all the folks out there, and maybe there's comparison going on with Drake May because it was leaked that O'Connell really liked Drake May, and now look at what Drake May is doing against or with the Patriots. Now, in all fairness, now I know he did this against the Bills and Josh Allen, which is impressive. But for the most part, the Patriots' schedule is very easy, very simple. Yeah. They haven't had to play too difficult defenses. But everybody else, I mean, you look at Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams on Sunday, they won the game, but had an awful game. And, you know, we've been around this bush before that we have 2 games to go from with McCarthy, and I am excited to see more. That those 2 games show that. And there's an up and down to quarterback development that is a roller coaster, that you have some really high highs and really low lows. And I don't think there's anything more dramatic from the high highs to winning that comeback in Chicago and then losing that game at home against the Falcons. And then no more drastically different type of game than the Bengals game immediately following the Falcons, where there were a number of different pieces in place that were not there for the Falcons game. And so we see all this swing and this short little honeymoon with Carson Wentz, and people are kind of off on McCarthy, off on Wentz, and they're looking longingly over at Darnold and Jones, and I just continue to echo again.
Hindsight.
Maybe, well, it's hindsight, but maybe we will turn around 20 games, 25 games under JJ McCarthy's belt and say, you know what, Kevin O'Connell has failed to develop his quarterback. But the fact we do not know. Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold are exhibits. I guess they're B and C. You could point to Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield as exhibits A and B, Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold are C and D perhaps in the NFL recent history. But they're classic exhibits why you don't just give up on a quarterback after 2 games, and the fact that KOC played such a crucial role in their development gives us the confidence that give 20 to 25 games. And so we're very excited to see McCarthy back out there, and we trust Kevin O'Connell
Yeah.
in knowing when to bring him back out there and how to develop him. And maybe like give it a, I would say like 20, 25 games. And hopefully, like the concern might be, well, maybe McCarthy is injury prone. But hopefully, those 20 to 25 games can happen within the next year. And we'll know what we have as at a quarterback, and maybe we'll look back and be like, you know what, KOC failed to develop this quarterback. That's all a possibility. We're not glazing over with rose-colored glasses. But the best scenario for the Vikings, with the coach that they have and the team that they have, is that they can be able to continue to develop the JJ McCarthy and get him out there to play. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we play the Chargers. Thankfully, we get the Chargers when they're kind of down and injured and beat up. I'm still kind of nervous about the game, which maybe we can head into looking at our picks for this upcoming week if you're ready for that. But yeah, I that's kind of my 2 cents in terms of the outlook at the quarterback position with the Vikings.
Yeah. I don't want to delay it too long, but I did just want to emphasize that like development thing. I feel like we've talked about this for years, even before McCarthy was on the Vikings, is how strange it is that we just shove quarterbacks into starting roles so quickly. Because you look at Mahomes, sat for a year. You look at Rodgers, sat for 3 years. You look at Peyton Manning, struggled mightily, had like 28 interceptions his first year. You look at
is it his head coach or owner has said they shouldn't have played him the first year? I forget.
Maybe, yeah.
How that was. Yeah.
And I don't know as much history about like older quarterbacks like Brett Favre and whoever else, but there's a pretty consistent pattern that it's very, very rare that the greatest quarterbacks just like step onto the field and are incredible. And I would guess, just pure guess, that those who do probably are older rookies, like probably played longer in college. Like it'd be interesting to know, like Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, some of those guys who were like really great their first couple of years. Be interesting to look up how old they were and like how much experience they had. But it's just like you got to develop these guys, and if McCarthy doesn't turn out, he probably will. Like I just think he probably will. If he doesn't turn out, maybe we get Mac Jones or Brock Purdy or the 2026 or 2027 version of Sam Darnold. Like I believe that much in KOC. I think he's earned that trust, and he could lose it between now and then, but
he deserves. Yeah, he's earned.
He deserves that trust.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are some people, I'm realizing more and more, there are some people who are just down on McCarthy because they hate Michigan.
Yeah.
In which then I'm like, you're a college fan, you're not a serious NFL fan, especially a serious Vikings fan, and to each his own. That's fine.
Just from my like non-college football fan perspective, it feels like there's so little that bleeds into the NFL. Like there's such different sports that people
oh yeah, I mean
different.
You have people from college who everybody's raving about, and it's like, oh, that guy never turned out at the NFL level.
Yeah, like how many of the last 15 Heisman Trophy winners are actually good, like actually had good pro careers?
Yeah. I don't know that question right offhand, but I'm agreeing to your
well, the fact that it includes, guys like Johnny Manziel, and I think RG311, like those types of guys. It's like,
yeah.
My gut is that most of those guys did not have good careers.
Yeah. Well, even like back in my day when I paid attention to every kind of sport, Vince Young and Reggie Bush were like the big Heisman winners and so forth. They didn't do anything in the NFL level, really.
Reggie Bush
maybe had
a couple of good years, but
yeah. But I think he also did he get injured? Maybe that kind of limited him. But anyway, we ready to look at our picks?
Yeah, let's do it.
So last week we both went 9-6 for week 7, which means you maintain the lead. 2 games over me. You're at 68-39. I'm at 66-41. This week, obviously the Vikings play tomorrow night, and you are optimistic about the team. I'm optimistic about the team as well. However, the fact that they are going with Wentz, and I'm not super optimistic about Wentz, and the fact that it does seem like there's continual injuries kind of lingering, whether it's offensive linemen or defensive players. I'm not necessarily that optimistic about the Chargers game. And I guess I'm also sort of feeling like I should have gone with my pick of the Eagles over. So I don't know. Maybe you'll be right. What's your optimism about the Vikings beating the Chargers?
I'm pretty nervous. I feel much the same way about this game as I do about the Eagles. There's a certain amount of revenge aspect of, like, Harbaugh really thought that, like, I think Harbaugh thought he had the Vikings job, and then they hired Kevin O'Connell. And so there's probably, just knowing Harbaugh, there's probably a chip on his shoulder about that.
And all the fans that really wanted Harbaugh, if they lose, they're going to be like, see, we should have had Harbaugh.
So, he's the more experienced coach. He wins a lot. Obviously, like, a better quarterback. I think they're getting Joe Alt back, who's like their Christian Darrisaw. I
don't know. They are getting him back?
I thought he told a reporter that he was gonna play.
Oh, he was limited participant. Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, still, I think he's also high ankle sprain. So, yeah. It's in California. I think there should be there's often a decent amount of fans showing against those Los Angeles teams, but also the Chargers, I think, are more established now than they were, 2 or 3 years ago whenever we played there last against them. So yeah, it's a little bit of a toss-up, but I don't know. I think this is a really good team, and I think the only weakness is whatever's going on at center, and then Wentz just occasionally being kind of dumb. And
the vulnerability at quarterback, yeah.
If we can avoid that, which I think we can, I think Wentz has that capacity, and I think KOC has that capacity to coach people through that. If we can avoid that, I think we win the game. I don't expect it to be a pretty win, but
yeah. One of the things that I've been thinking about with the Vikings, because more and more teams get injured, and so on one hand that kind of discounts all the injuries that have been happening with the Vikings. However, some key things that are different. First of all, you have Mac Jones with the 49ers, who's been phenomenal as a backup QB. Like, most fan bases need to realize that is the exception to the rule. That is not the rule to have that caliber of a quarterback backing you up. He also has incentives built into his contract per win. So there's a lot of things going right there. I don't think Wentz is the type of guy where, man, if he just had those incentives, he would be winning more games. That's not the point. Especially since he missed all of training camp with the team, whereas Mac Jones was there with them and present. The other thing, though, is very few teams have their crucial pieces at O-line missing and their QB missing. You look at the the Lions, they've had tons of injuries on defense. But I would, and this might be a bit of a hot take, but I would suggest that one key defensive player means less to a defensive unit than one key offensive player on the offensive side of things. When you have schemed your whole offensive structure for a certain type of quarterback or certain wide receivers or a certain running game or whatever, maybe I'm being whatever, but when you look over the last several years, the players, the defensive players who led the league in sacks or tackles for losses. I'm not sure if that scream is coming through.
It's fine. I did hear it, but
they're playing out there.
It sounds like
it got kind of loud.
Time.
Yeah. Defensive players, they're on bad teams, bad defensive teams, and when you look at some of the better defensive units, they have less of those spectacular star players. Whereas, so all that to say that I think it could potentially, I'm not trying to discount, I'm sure the Lions work very hard so that it's replaceable and anybody could step in. But it's not a fair comparison to injuries like the Vikings because they've had Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and even Jameson Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs. Through all of that, they've had their key offensive figures. And I'm not saying this to make excuses for the Vikings. I'm saying all this to pinpoint your point in that this is a really good Vikings team. The fact that they have faced this adversity and yet here they are still within striking distance of a playoff spot of 10 wins potentially. Now, there's a long road ahead. There's a lot of work ahead, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
I had the Chargers pegged as a loss. I had the Eagles pegged as a loss from the very beginning, and so I'm sticking with them as a loss, but hopefully I'll be wrong.
Yeah, this is the one I had in this stretch after the bye. I had Phillies loss, Chargers win, Lions loss, Ravens loss. This is the one I had as a win.
I should say I had the Chargers pegged as I could see it going either way. Like I had several. Sure. I could have seen the Vikings winning 5 straight in their first 5. I also could have seen them easily going 3-2, which is what they did. And then I had, I think I had the 4 straight games, Eagles, Chargers, Lions, Ravens. I had most likely 4 straight losses, but possibly 1 win in there. And, going into the bye week, I thought, well, maybe they get 4 straight wins. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But the way these teams look right now, I don't think the Lions is going to be a loss. Unless the Vikings come out and just play phenomenally.
I mean, see, that's the thing is we have twice as many games as we've played left. So all that's happened up till now can happen, like that amount of time is going to happen twice yet. And so we have
what a roller coaster.
we're going to end up, you can't end up even, I guess, but end up 9-10 or 10-9.
No, 9-8.
Yeah, you're right. And honestly, if we get to the end, I would be pretty disappointed in this season if McCarthy gets injured again. But if we go 8-9, 9-8, and we figured out, it's like, oh yeah, we've really got something here with McCarthy. I mean, I'd be super happy. I mean, I predicted them to go 13-4, which, I mean, honestly, if McCarthy would have been healthy through this game, I think I'd be sitting pretty well for that prediction to come through. Looks like we went chalks.
We are in it full agreement otherwise until and these are kind of simple games, but I'm going with the Broncos to take down the Cowboys. The Broncos put up 33 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Largely just because I need to somehow make an attempt to reach you again.
Get 2 games on
the Cowboys look really good. The Broncos seem really inconsistent. They put up 33 in one quarter against the Giants, but they also laid a complete egg against the Jets. And so I'm not really sure what to think of them. Very similar to the Falcons. The Falcons 1 week have like the best pass rush in the NFL, and then the other week can seem like they don't really show up. And so I'm not sure what all to say, but I think there's a chance, especially since the Broncos are at home, that they get the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll wrap that up for this week. Thanks for joining us as we debriefed the Vikings and as we looked forward, and we'll see how they do on Thursday Night Football. And then thankfully it's a longer break till they play again on November 2nd. If you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like it, share it with a friend, drop a comment, let us know if you're a Vikings fan, let us know what your outlook is as you've been watching the team develop their quarterback or be unable to develop their quarterback with injury. How are you feeling about the season and how this roller coaster ride that we've been on so far? Thanks for listening. We'll see you all later.